Okay guys, so here is a follow-up to what we did in class today. I'm going to give you part of this traffic light one, but not all of it, because I want you guys to solve it and it's in your book. But coming back to this, looking at conditional formatting, we can highlight these cells here, and I can make them turn various colors depending on what rules I set up. So if I say, if a cell is greater than 35, then I want for the custom format of that cell, I want to have white text, and I want to have green fill. That can happen. Or let's make another rule here where if our cells are less than 35, then they are dark red. And then maybe if they're equal to 35, then they can be yellow fill with yellow text. Then if I change this to 35, we have red, yellow, and green. I can do some other things within these cells. I can also add some data bars in there, which will show the represent the value in the data. The higher the value, the longer the bar proportionally. So as you can see, the 50 is really long because it's a lot wider, a lot thinner cell. So I could do this if I wanted to. I could also do some color scales where it has a gradient to the range of the cells. The color indicates whether it falls within a certain range. I could set that range if I wanted. I could go through this more rules. So I could have the minimum be the lowest, the highest be the maximum, or I could actually set those, and I could even make this a 3, where I could put a midpoint of some sort. I can also do icons. So these icons, the rules show that when the value is greater than or equal to some percentage or less than or equal to, it will be these different things. So greater than the 67th percentile, it's green. Between the 33rd and the 67th percentile, it's yellow. And between or less than the 33rd percentile, it would be red. So that's what we would have there. If I change this to 30, we have all kinds of formatting going on here. So we can see that our 33rd percentile is right at about at 35 there. So our yellow is still there. At 34, we're still yellow. At 33, at 30. All right, so back to the traffic light. I'm just going to do the red one with you guys. And then if you want to, not if you want to, when you do the other part for homework, hopefully this will help you out. So the first thing I've done is I've taken a couple cells and merged and centered them together so that I can just have this middle part of my cell light up. And so for the red light, if you remember, if our time remaining is 0, then it should turn red. So that if statement is going to look something like if the time remaining equals 0, then I can make this a 1, 2, 3, or for me, it makes sense to make it an R for red, so I can have a very specific value. Otherwise, it's just going to be blank so that we don't get any color change in there. Okay, so right now it just pops up an R, which is not what I want. So then I can come in here into my conditional formatting, and I can highlight cells that contain text. So they can be equal to, or they can contain text. So if I put if a cell is equal to R, then I want a custom format. I just want it to be red, right? I want it to be red. I want the font to be red. I don't want to see it. It just needs to be red. So now when I do that, it should light up for me. So something happened there. So let's see what's going on with my conditional formatting. Oh, there's no time remaining at all, right? So if I put 0 in, it should have lit up. So let's go back and look at that rules. Let's manage our rules. So we can say if it equals R, maybe I've got too many of these. So let's edit this rule and say if the cell value is equal to R, then it should work. Apply it. Now it works. So that was our wrong one. So if it's equal to R, I had too many. I put in the quotation marks, so I didn't have to. So that's a good way to kind of see what's out there, is just keep editing and keep trying. until then. So now it's at 0. If I make it 25, then it goes away. So that's what I want to happen. So you guys can do that for the red, or for the yellow, and for the green. And then eventually you'll have a beautiful stoplight that you can turn in on your homework. So the other part that we did is we looked at making tables over here, or filtering data. So we talked about how we can come to data and we can sort this data however we want using the functions here. But the better way to do this, and the better way to make this go quicker and deal with more data, is to make this whole thing a filter. But if you notice, it just does the top row. So if I want to do all of this and I want my headers to be headers, I need to come to filter here and make sure I have all of this highlighted. And so now I can sort by brand, and then I can sort by cost from largest to smallest, or energy, largest to smallest, or the amount of emissions that it makes largest to smallest. Or I can just turn everything back on and it would still sort that way. So if you notice also that if I do this from largest to smallest, everything stays together. So that's good. The other thing that we talked about was finding the averages of these. So many times this is important. So if I want to find the average, the min, the max, and the standard deviation, then I could type in the functions average and find the average. I could type in min for minimum and find the minimum. Or I could type in max for the maximum, find the maximum there. And then lastly, I could type in stan dev p and highlight, and it would find my standard deviation. And we can easily make this into a dollar amount and center this because it's not looking so hot. But then what happens when I just want to look at Sony is it's still taking the entire value. So if I don't want that to happen, then I can use another command called subtotal, and it has 9 functions. So I want to use average again, so I would type 1, and then I would highlight the data that I want to use. And it's still going to give me that because right now I'm looking at all of the data. I can do the same thing for each of these. Minimum is 5. Highlight all of these. And maximum is 4. And we can highlight all of these. And last but not least, the subtotal of the standard deviation is 7. And we want all of these. If I don't like the way this looks, I can also, a nifty trick, hopefully you guys see this, there's this painter's brush over here. And what it allows me to do is click on a cell, click on this format painter, which makes it look the same way as the others, and then I click on the cell I want it to look like. So now everything looks the same. Then I can drag all of these cells over so that I'm also finding the average energy, the average emissions, and all the other things, except they are not monetary values. So then I can change from currency to just general. And then I can make the number of decimal places 2, because that is how many are listed in the rest of this. So now when I go to just select Sony, my averages change, and my minimum changes, and my maximum changes, and my standard deviation changes, and all of these things change. So now this is a fun way that I can sort data, and I can look at it, and I can make it look differently. So that's just a good tool that you guys can have. It's sorting using the filter method. There's many other ways to do that within Excel, but this is a good one that we can look by. So there you guys go.